Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Mad Capper, and there's another video on Raid Shadow Legends, but not just another video, a special video with my special guest, the amazing, the talented, the it's about time Mad Capper. You worked with this guy, YST. Welcome to the channel. Pleasure to have you here.
Yo, how's it going, Mad Kappa? It's nice to finally be here. It's
I know.
long awaited is like an understatement. Like it's crazy.
You had asked me, and I had agreed probably 2 years ago. I'm thinking at least 2 years ago. But finally, I got off my ass. I'm working with content creators, including yourself. And absolutely, first one I reached out to, by the way, was you.
I feel
When I
special
decided
now. That's
it's time to do it. Don't tell Deadwood, because I told him the same thing. But I actually reached out to you. We set today's date, and then I got Deadwood for last week afterwards. So just no big deal. We could do a content creator. We could do a creator clash where you guys can fight in the boxing ring, like
The next collab is what you're gonna be like. Oh, you was definitely the first one like us, but don't tell YC.
Well, I'm telling you right now, if Ash or Hell Hades say yes, I'm absolutely saying they're the first ones. Like, why? Like, come on, don't bite the hand that feeds you, right?
Yeah.
All right, so YST, we're gonna talk today about Doom Tower. We're gonna go through some strategies on the waves, and then more importantly, on each of the bosses, kind of how to approach them. Some really good strategies for a low spend, free to play type account. And then we'll wrap it up. But first, I want to talk a little bit about you for the viewers from my channel that don't know who you are. First of all, where have you been? But you're forgiven. Let's learn about YST now. Tell us a little bit. Tell us the basics, the ASL of YST.
I do YouTube videos for Raid, of course, for about how long now? Maybe 2.5 years. January 2021. So kind of seen it all, but I've been around the game from like the beginning, like the Christmas fusion with the Cernic. I started back then. So I've seen all of the content creators rise and the game go from the start to the end. And it's been a cool process. Very expensive process, but yeah,
Yeah. So,
that's really much it.
so I gotta quit. So about a year ago, I'm gonna say now, maybe you'd made the decision, the absolute terrifying leap to go from content creator to full-time. This is your employment content creator. First off, how did you make that leap? How did you, like, that is scary. You got a family, but at the same time, tons of success. How has it gone? So how did you feel back then, and how are you feeling, all this time later?
Back then, I was like really nervous because my channel's not like the biggest. I'm not the biggest creator in Raid, and like nothing's promised, right? Like the how good a game is gonna be, how long is it gonna be around for? If Raid was to finish tomorrow, what would I go into, sort of thing. But yeah, so it's been how long now? 7 months. I
7 months.
kind of went full time end of December. So yeah, but since then, I haven't regretted it 1 second. I think it's an amazing thing. I always say, like in life, right? You you can't really second guess yourself and not believe in yourself. Some things you get one shot at it, right? And I was doing Raid for 2 years, and I was like, if I'm gonna try something to achieve a dream, now is the time to try it. And worst case scenario, I could just go back to like a job I was doing right down the line. So yeah, took the leap, enjoying it so far, and not looking back at all so far anyway.
Awesome. And of course, you're affiliated. I don't know exactly to what
Mhm.
degree, but you're affiliated with Hell Hades. You do a lot of
Yep.
collabs with them. You do a lot of interaction with them, which is probably very helpful, I would imagine.
Oh yeah. So to be fair, like I have to thank them a lot. Like they didn't have to. There's a bunch of creators out there, a bunch of like really good people in this community that have like big brains and stuff. But they kind of decided to choose me to come over, join the team, and kind of work on the website, something to coincide with the creation as well. And it just fitted perfectly for me. I was like, I'm making videos on Raid and I'm covering Raid in other formats as well for the website. And most importantly, working with people that I considered friends for years. So it was like, yeah, really good. It kind of just all fitted perfectly when I first went full time.
Do you guys do any actual live hangouts? Do you hang out with
Yeah,
Nub and Hell Hades and
yeah.
yeah?
Well, we went to Insomnia Gaming. I'm not sure if you've seen the video. We actually did a live shard pool video, like in person.
Oh, I never saw that one.
Yeah,
Whose
it's on my
channel was that
channel.
on?
It
Oh,
was
it's
on
on your
mine.
channel.
Yeah,
Oh, I missed that
we
one.
all so we all kind of went to like a gaming festival for the first time I met them. And then recently we just went bowling as well. I went with Odd One, Ivy, Lady H, Hades, and we all kind of went bowling and stuff. That was fun.
Oh, sweet.
Went for
That's
dinner.
good.
So, and I'm supposed to be meeting Deadwood in a couple weeks as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when he was on the channel, he mentioned he's heading over the pond this year in a couple weeks. So that'll be
yeah,
phenomenal. That'll be fun.
yeah. I think
He
Nubs
is
is flying over, maybe Cold Brew as
oh yeah.
well, and it'll
Oh
be cool,
wow.
man.
Yeah, that will be
Yeah.
awesome. I do plan on making it out your way, and I will definitely let you know. But it probably won't be this year because
Hmm.
I started a new job too, not with Raid, but unfortunately, my job doesn't have as many weeks vacation that I can just jump
Yeah.
out. It's not like with content creation. If you have a good enough laptop, you could probably go anywhere. But so that's awesome. That's awesome. It's great. Congratulations. I mean, absolutely deserving. One of the staples of the community and a great human being. So that's you're
I
not an
appreciate
asshole, which is good because I don't want them to have success, but I do want you to have success, and I'm glad that you are. All right.
I
So
appreciate it.
enough of the feel goods. Let's talk about Doom Tower. Doom Tower is probably, in my opinion, one of the most daunting progression pieces in the game. You look at this, and so when you're progressing, you're doing clan boss, and clan boss, there's so much you could. There's a calculator, there's teams, there's stats. By now, if you haven't figured out how to help yourself in clan boss, I'm not sure how to help you. Same with dungeons, and dungeons have a format. You look at a dungeon, you get in here, whether it's we'll just say Minotaur Labyrinth. You know what you're facing. You're facing Spirit, Magic, Void, Force. Spirit, Magic. Then you come into the Doom Tower, which
Hmm.
not only ups the ante in the champion's abilities, their damage, their stats, higher health than anywhere else, except for maybe you could argue the Iron Twins and the Sand Devils. There's no waves there,
Hmm.
but whatever. But you look in here, suddenly there's multiple affinities. There's multiple They brought in the new champions, which like if you've ever fought against a Riho, you know the pain that is. So let's go through first and talk about you're brand new. Here you are, normal. You've got this multi affinity. How do you approach this portion of the game? As a probably low spend for you. If you've got money, just spend enough money to get the right champions, obviously.
Yeah. So for me, like I always say that the Doom Tower is the most versatile place in the game. So what I mean by that is it's not like limited to specific compositions and stuff. It's very creative, whether that be like a crowd controlling team paired with burns and freezes, and you basically never make your enemies take a turn, but it's just like a slow format team where it's just like you burn through it. And then there's like the brute force comps, like the seer resets and the crazy teams out there, poison explosion, you name it. So in that regard, it's really flexible for like a free to play player. And actually, on my free to play account, it's one of the most enjoyable things for me. And it keeps me signing in because every different floor is a different mechanic, a different wave, it's something new. And for me, I always feel like having a strong support substance. So, Pythion, a great example, Scylla the Drakes, or just champions of that caliber are really going to be like the pinnacle of your team, right? So, like Pythion, amazing. He's got heals, he's got AoE revives, he's got resist auras, and in the normal Doom Tower, you're gonna have no problem resisting most of the debuffs with just the aura alone once you've got a bit of resistance stats on your champions. But away from that, Scylla the Drakes, as I mentioned, strong crowd control and revives and ally protection. We're bringing in stuns, turn meter manipulation, and like these kind of champions are really gonna affect players out there. So you're just trying to find Sil here. Cheeky little
I'll
Sil.
never find Celine. This is the word.
She's there.
Can we just sidebar this and say, Plarium, please add sorting features and a search for these
In your
champions.
search bar. Yeah. So yeah, Scylla the Drake's like we get it for free. Granted, you get it pretty late into it, but I feel like once you feel like, ooh, I can finally do the Doom Tower, you'll be close to getting Sil anyway because of how hard it is once you get past the mid phase. But really, really strong. And then away from that, it's just kind of like bringing in the damage. Like for me, I prefer like provoke champions such as Vizix the Unbowed is a great option, free to play out there. She brings in decreased speed and ally protection to help out your Scylla the Drake. So they're both going back to back and protecting each other is a really cool strategy. Look at this, we're getting the troubles here.
Yeah, you keep talking. I'm never gonna. It'll be tomorrow
Yeah.
before I find all the champions. Especially, I don't remember which ones got blessed.
Oh,
Fair
they
chance.
really need it. Like now that we look at it, but yeah, Vizic's really good. We get her for free as well. Shortly after Vizic's start on board, and right now this is kind of what I would say is a safe sailing team. So we've got all of our support that we need. We've got decreased speed, ally protection, but then from here I'd be thinking about maybe drop defense or weaken. Prime example would be Lydia the Death Siren, also free to obtain, but you need to do faction wars. But for this sake, you could just maybe choose an epic. Deacon Armstrong, get him for free, right? Promo codes.
Yep.
Um, and
And
then
then
from here,
if you have enough resistance, you can always use a speed lead too, which is really nice.
yeah, for sure. And then from here, I'd probably go for like a form of damage, whether that be a Nishak Vermin Lord, a bomb, just normal damage from a champion, anyone you got. And this is kind of how I would be beating the Doom Tower as like a normal. Like I'm going through it the first time, I'm trying to get through it. I'll be bringing a team like this to kind of get through that because I'm covering all of the bases and we've got multiple revives in there for those harder waves as well. And the provokes are going to be very good for multi macabres or the ones that's bombing you or the champions you can't beat. You lock them out with crowd control, maybe bring someone in a stun set, and you'll be well on your way to victory.
So
So
would it be fair to say? And by the way, I picked Nagoro on purpose because I think
I love
he's a
the
very
Gorio. Let's go.
very underrated
Got the
nuker.
mask
So
for him.
there we go. Yeah, actually, it almost looks like they brothers? Is that the lore?
It could be. I actually
Genzin
asked
and
Plarium,
Nagoro?
back in the day. I said, "Oh, when Nagoria came out, I said, send me a Nagoria mask. I'll wear it for you." They didn't send me nothing, man. I don't know.
You gotta be. Well, now that you've got the Hell Hades connection, maybe you can get him to sweet talk the Plarium team.
Do you know what word is? I actually asked Banana Jam that there's a life size Genzin in one of their offices, so I'm looking
Oh
to go
my
and steal
god.
that.
I'll help you. So next year we're going to the Ukraine,
Yeah,
conditions
yeah,
willing, and we're going to steal that Genzin. I like it.
yeah.
It's a good
We
plan.
have to buy an extra flight, an extra seat on the plane though.
Yeah. Oh
That
yeah.
would be good.
For the Genzin.
Yep.
So absolutely perfect. Perfect kind of synopsis of the waves is you're using champions that are easily obtainable, and if they're not free, like Syl Vizic's free, Python was a relatively
Fusion.
easy fusion, like probably one of the easiest fusions there's been so far,
Yeah, for
other
the
than
caliber
like
he was, it
early
was
days.
worth every single investment for sure.
Absolutely. But if you didn't have Python, maybe you did Brogni. Brogni would be another champion that maybe
Mhm.
doesn't bring the revive, but you've got Syl, Python. Brogni gives those the shields and the reflect and everything. So yeah, so you're concentrate on your support and then get a debuff and a damage dealer. And don't worry about how long it takes. Now, did you or do you manual or are you just like auto all the way?
On my free to play, I'm auto all the way for the waves, apart from the bosses, because the bosses are like very. They're the ones that you need synergies and specific teams on like most of the rotations. But I'd say like rotation 1 and 2, you could probably get away with it of just brute forcing it in the right
Sure.
stats and stuff. Because like the mechanics of them aren't really speed tuned in a sense for some of them. It's just survive it and then by the time you finish it's done. But then once we start going into the rotations we got now, that's when it starts to change a little bit, and then the struggles start coming into effect, right, for these bosses.
Absolutely. All right. Uh quickly before we move to the bosses, secret
Hmm.
rooms, any particular, I mean, secret rooms are so specific, it would probably be hard to give any advice other than get 5 champions that can
Hmm.
defeat the 5 that you're fighting. But
To be
is there
fair, there
any?
is there is a bit of advice I'd say. To be fair, I'd say like if you're struggling with the faction wars, right, and you're trying to build champions for that anyway on your road to Lydia, why not try and build champions that you need for secret rooms at the same time in factions that you know you're struggling with? So let's just say you can't beat the Knights Revenant, and then there's a champion in a secret room you're trying to do that's a Knights Revenant. You're kind of killing two birds with one stone, and you're getting used in multiple places. So I'm always a big fan of like efficiency and not just using it for a secret room. You're going to use that champion elsewhere, and especially when you're grinding in this game, you want to be building for many places, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and I think if you follow that kind of mindset, then you're going to be fine until it. I mean, there's only a couple rooms that,
Yeah.
and keep in mind, you don't have to do every room. You want to do as many rooms as possible, but there's a couple, and I think it's this rotation, isn't it? I can never remember. Is it the rare spirit and the
I don't know.
and
I still haven't done one of those in my life.
there? So I skipped this one. Force HP champions. You can see all the champions I have. I have passed it plenty of times, but it's time consuming. And this is a
Hmm.
count. Like I have 3 husks that I could probably throw in there with a Linethorel and then get her done. But if you're free to play, this is one of the most difficult because the damage isn't there on
Hmm.
most HP champions unless you pulled one of the few superstars. So yeah,
I will
always.
say,
Mhm.
yeah, I would say like obviously
I
secret
actually
room
used.
champions like in this everyone's gonna be going for the normal one first, right? The hard ones are way too hard,
Yeah,
but like the champions from there, like the first three in particular, like Akof the Sid, Great Burner. We've got Dark Hail, a poison champion. I use it till this day on my endgame account. And then Archmage Helmet is being one of the best stun slash Terminator champions from the epic
yeah,
category. They're really good to push for, but at the same time, if you start moving into the hard Doom Tower and you're moving up in that stages, you might have Mithrala Lifebane by then if you've been doing the normal Doom Tower, and she's a phenomenal champion for all of the floors. Talk about petrification, increased attack, cleanses, shields. She is a champion that can literally do so much in the Doom Tower for you. So if you don't have someone like a Pythion or a Vizix or whoever that may be, Mithrala Lifebane is huge to play that role. Like there's stages such as like Valkyries and stuff, and that petrification just comes in clutch, right? Really strong.
accuracy in all battles. So that's immediately
Hmm.
going to help you. The cleanse with the strength. The strengthen. People don't talk enough about strengthen. Strengthen is
Underrated.
such a damage mitigator. It mitigates all damage. It's irrelevant on whether you're debuffed or not. It doesn't change anything. Defense you can interrupt, but strengthen is just a pure 25% reduction in
Hmm.
damage. And then of course the hex, which the hex comes into absolute play. So yeah, absolutely. Great call out on Mithrala. And she looks freaking amazing, so that's a good thing too.
Yes. I'm actually like the way that Ray gave it to us, like obviously the Hydra is a really hard thing, but getting through the normal, let's just say you use the promo code for or even Artak. We just got Artak for free, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody at some phase, like even me on my free to play, I can do normal Hydra. And I don't even have like crazy champions in my account just because of Artak. So I would say definitely if anyone out there, just try to stay on top of at least the normal, and before you know it, you have Mithrala. And we've disappeared. Boom, we're back. Hello.
All right, so next let's talk about the Doom Tower bosses. Obviously the waves are one thing, but it's just a matter of finding the right combination of champions on your account, looking for revive, looking for survive, heals, shields, and then debuffs, and of course crowd control if you have it, and damage. So the bosses are a different beast altogether. So let's just go through each one and kind of go through some good strong tips and tricks for each of these abilities or each of these bosses, starting with the Magma Dragon himself. Maybe one of the easiest once you have the right team, but pretty ridiculously hard until you have the right team. So fire away.
Yeah, I think it's actually the easiest boss in Doom Tower. Reason being is it's just brute force and provokes. So literally any provoke champion you got, Vizix Stumbled, once again, prime example. Provoke him, he's going to be targeting those, and then you'll be good to go. And just like I use champions like Mountain King, like just raw damage, or Lydia, some strengthens. You want to have some protection in there because once it starts to ramp up, it is a lot of damage. But you just want to avoid bringing in the burn debuff, right? Because he doesn't like that. He doesn't like the burns.
So, we'll see behind here, like, for example, anyone with that provoke. Husk is one. Seeker's a great one to use. War Chief is the king, and all hail the chief of this encounter. But if you don't have a War Chief, then you don't get to do it. But so, provoke is the key to Magma. What does that do for you?
That's gonna make sure that the boss is just gonna go onto the target who's placed the provoke, and then it's gonna allow you to keep in your cycle of not getting those big AOE smacks on your champions. So bringing in maybe one or even two of those options to go back to back is gonna be very beneficial. Like I think even in the Sylvan Watchers, there was a new rare that came out that can place it very consistently. Um, I actually found he was a really good choice for the Magma Dragon, and with the Sylvan Watchers faction was coming out, he might be one to consider. To be fair. Yeah, that dude, Margrave Green.
Margrave?
Yeah, so he's got a free time at random at a big chance of 70% per hit. So
That
that's a
is
very
huge.
good on a 3-turn
On a
cooldown.
3-turn cooldown.
One of the best provokers from the rare categories. So there's a lot of like budget options out there for sure.
Yeah, awesome. Another one would be, I think, is it Greybeard? No, it's the other one. Gnarlhorn,
Gnarlhorn from the Skinwalkers, yeah.
Skinwalkers. So if you're looking for free to play options out there, they are out there with provokes. This is a 3-turn cooldown as well. It's a guaranteed because it places. So there's
Hmm.
no because there's 2 different versions of the magma dragon for affinity. And so this won't really matter so long as you make him survivable. And he's actually making himself a little bit survivable. So that's a
Yeah,
good
he's a great one for
option as well.
Skinwalker's faction also. But even like with the burns,
Mhm.
like I mentioned earlier, try to avoid bringing that in because I believe the boss will replace it with a continuous heal.
Yes.
If you're burning. So you want to make sure you're avoiding that. Otherwise, the encounter is just going to be much longer than it needs to
Yeah.
be.
Now here's a little next level thing for you. If you want to do this, you have a war chief, bring in
Bring
an
him
HP burn
in. Yeah.
champion, and have war chief steal the continuous heal.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when they buffed war chief, they turned it to a 2-turn cooldown, and it's harder to tune now. It used to be a 3-turn cooldown, and it'd be a nice
Mhm.
easy 1-to-1, but now it's a little bit more difficult. But that's the boss. That's the first boss. Excellent. Magma, like you said, the easiest one. There's so many provoke champions out there, some rare ones, some free to play. So you should be able to get through that relatively quickly. You do need some health, you do need some
Mhm.
survivability, and of course some damage. But any enemy max HP will give you 10% of the boss's hit.
Yeah.
So you can just bring in like a Husk is great because he's bringing provoke and he's got an enemy max HP
Yeah.
hit.
One of
So
the best champions for it, to be fair. Yeah.
yeah. All right. So next up we've got Sorath the Frost Spider.
This one actually, like, I would say he's still hard to an extent because of the thresholds you need. Like, especially in the hard Doom Tower, the stats you need are bonkers. Like, for us as endgame players, Lydia the Death Siren, a block revive is the easiest way to beat him because you don't have to worry about having the burn on before he dies. But when I was doing it on my free to play, right? Like, if you've only got one burner and it's on a cooldown and the boss is consistently locking you out if you don't have high resistance, if you don't have the burn up on time, he's just going to revive and bring back the minions again, and you have to keep going through at like 50% HP or wherever he starts at again. So champions like the Drexar Blood Twin is a very good for this because he's going to consistently place the burns upon being hit and also on his A1 skill. So trying to gather the fragments from the Bazaar or the Clan Shop?
Yeah.
One of them.
The clan shop. Yeah.
Yeah. So bringing in him here is going
No,
to be
the
very
bazaar.
good.
Sorry.
It's the
The
Bazaar.
bazaar.
The arena one,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Tag team arena. So if there's ever a
Yeah.
reason, if you're like, I hate tag team arena, but you're a new mid, play your tokens because
Hmm.
Drexthar is free. It's like 360 bars or something like that per one token. You can buy one a day, 100 days. This guy's gonna probably beat half the bosses out there if you don't have an other than the Magma Dragon.
Or
But
guys,
or
a juicy
oh
pick. Artak.
oh art or just bring Artak. I used to be. I used
Yeah.
to get so tired of it. I
That
used to use
is,
Tyrant,
we
and
never know when people are gonna watch this video though, right? So Artak
that's
might not be
true.
free anymore by then.
Yeah, Sishia, any HP burn champion. The key
Mhm.
is as long as the left and right spider, or as long as the right spiderling when you're facing cleanses the boss and takes on those debuffs, and the resist on the main spiderling is increased while those 2 left and right
Yeah,
spiderlings are dead. Right?
it's bonkers, man. The resistance on that boss is next level.
Yeah.
So this is why
So
it's so easy with Lydia,
yes,
right? Just
yeah,
block
and
revive
so
it.
my always suggestion is you can auto it, but use the target so that you make sure the burn is always on the 2 spiderlings,
Mhm.
because you need all 3 HP burns at the same time to go off to get the fastest time. Otherwise, you'll be sitting forever with no one, and heaven forbid the main spider dies before the spiderlings, and you can't land that HP burn. Now,
I
if
will
you're
say as
end
well
game,
though, like cleanses is very beneficial for that one. I remember back in the day I used a Reliquary Tender. You could be used for multiple bosses actually. A really good rare option. But the amount of because if you get
absolutely,
decreased because the boss places decreased accuracy, right? So if you're
yeah.
struggling to then place your debuffs, it's going to be a nasty situation. So if you can have a form of cleansing in your team, will be good.
And if you have an idea, I don't even know if this is enough. I haven't used him in a while,
Hmm.
but 531 accuracy, probably I think it's 550 is probably the mode. We can actually bring that up because if you go to the wonderful hellhades.com, I believe it gives you if we go to the Sorath guide, it'll tell you what you need for accuracy in every single world except for this one. Does he not have it? This is the only one. Every
Yeah,
other boss, he
it'll
has it.
be it'll be in the raid stages tool. So if you go into the top tab, Raid Shadow
Oh,
Legends.
Yeah. No, then I'm gonna
Stages
miss
tool.
it if we. I thought he normally just said here he put a little minimum numbers.
Might be here, and I'm just missing it.
Well, too bad. So go to tool. Where's raid tools?
Raid Shadow Legends at the top. Go down straight down stages 2 on the tools.
Stages tool.
Yep, and then you can just choose the encounter. So it'll be rotation 1, stage
Doom
120.
Tower. Rotation 1. Stage 1. Well,
Yeah, stage 120 for the last stage.
final boss.
This is for hard though, right?
Oh,
So you have to do 120 normal.
well, I wanted to see even hard, just so you know what the
Okay.
end. So the resistance. So you need 355 accuracy. No, sorry. Well, okay. So you need 305 accuracy, but he also, for each spiderling alive, is increased by 50. Is that right?
I believe so. Something like that.
So, in other words, just kill the spiderlings. Once the spiderlings are dead, 305 accuracy gets you there. So that's Sorath. And HP burn, target it, and grab a soda, grab a drink, grab your favorite beverage, and because it's going to take some time. All right. Agrith the Nether Spider, probably my least favorite one. Tell me about Agrith.
Agrith is it's a really scary one, I'd say. Like for a first-time player, like you don't even get to take a turn because the Nether Spider is sending out 1,000 poisons. So what you want to do here is like rule number 1, bring in a cleanser. Like any cleanser, the immediate phase you want him to go through, cleanse off all of those poisons, and then you want to use single target skills to just kill the boss, because every single time that you attack a spiderling, he's going to counterattack and also revive. Or not revive, heal. But a strategy that is my favorite one in the game is going to be Geomancer / Unkillable. It is the easiest way in the game, paired of heal reduction, to do it full auto in like 20 seconds. Because what you do is you cleanse up. You don't even need a cleanse for this team, to be fair. You open up with the burn and the weaken. With his passive, he's going to reflect all of those burns from all of the spiderling attacks. But at the same time, you're going to have block damage on Killable on with someone like a Man-Eater. But then you open up with the Venom Mage to place the heal reduction so the boss can't heal. So this is a way that you actually want to trigger the counterattacks of the spiderlings, and before you know it, the boss is going to be down in like less than a minute. So
that is phenomenal.
probably
I never
the
knew
best
that.
strategy. Yeah.
There's a video, right? You have a video of that?
I think so, yeah, somewhere.
If you do, we'll link it. If he does, we'll link it right there. If not, coming soon, a video of the Nether Spider with Geomancer having a block damage, or I guess an unkillable. It wouldn't
Unkillable
really
with Man-Eater's better because you could just literally... And what you do is bring in a Skytouch Shaman or someone that has a non-hard-hitting AoE A1 that can consistently proc the counterattacks. The heal reduction is up, so the boss can't heal. And it's just... It's so fun to watch. That's why I like Nether Spider now, because it's strategy.
And keep in mind that if nothing else, Geo himself has the A1, so he can proc all those spiderlings from attacking you, and therefore reflecting the damage back to their whole. Now, does it so? And that's just going to reflect on the boss, so it's not a big deal. You want the spiderlings alive, but you need that damage that heal reduction, right? You need that 100% heal reduction for it to work, right?
Yeah, so unfortunately, there's champions such as like Skullcrusher that have a 50% heal reduction. So I'd say stay away from that if you can, because it's not good. You're still going to heal by half the value from the boss. So you're looking for 100% heal reductions from champions. Prime example, even Coldheart can do it, right, on a random hitter, right. Or like there's many champions. Like heal reduction is very common in this game now to place it.
Yeah, there's lots. So, Veno's a great one because also comes with the decreased defense.
Decreased defense, she does AoE as well, so she immediately triggers the counterattacks. So she's my favorite one. And she can also detonate on an A1 as well to do some poison damage.
That's sweet. That's a good call. I actually was using Urticata for a while. Basically, here, I'll kill you with poisons.
Yeah.
Not the greatest one. Works well with the Nether Spider, by the way. But awesome. I'm gonna I have to build that now. Next rotation that it's up.
Yeah.
I had no idea that was a thing. Of course, I'd have to find Venomage first, so that might take 3 days.
Yeah, but the traditional strategy though for anyone that's struggling is basically cleanses, shields, single target abilities, avoiding AoEs, and basically you want burns as well. Like Drexar Blood Twin, once again, one of the highlights for that boss because he's just every single time the spiderlings are hitting, he's placing burns. Every time the boss hits, he's placing burns. Also does it on his A1. He's a phenomenal one. Like really, really
And
good. You can solo it in
he has a
lifesteal.
provoke, right? So
Yeah.
that's so in the waves, he's going to help you by controlling some of the if you're struggling. So can't say enough if you're trying to do Doom Tower, this
Mhm.
free champion that you can get is the most important thing you can do for your account for the Doom Tower.
Yeah,
All
100%.
right, awesome. And then if you're like me, you'll pull a whole bunch more of them, even though you don't want to, and you'll end up with a +4 that you don't need. But not that I'm bitter. Not Masishia would have been nice, but whatever. We'll go with
Yeah.
it. All right. So next up on the list, we've got if I can hit the button, we've got the Scarab King. Now the Scarab King again can be really easy, but at first it's really, really hard. There's a couple different strategies. Let me know which ones you use and think are the best.
So the traditional strategy for this boss is based around having a shield champion. A great example would be Metal Shaper, the rare, who has a AoE shield on a 2-turn cooldown. And you want him to be in the fastest position, so your turn meter manipulators, such as Allure, a decrease speed from Stagnite, or whoever places turn meter in your team, will basically cycle around after the shield and it will always be up. Therefore, the bosses are never going to take a turn. So being able to do that is like the fundamental strategy. That's how they built the boss around and its core mechanics. But do you have Metal Shaper?
I thought I kept one because I was doing videos on it, but I guess I didn't. I guess I fed him. Okay, no Metal Shaper it is. But like
Yeah,
for example, Miscreated Monster has the same
yeah.
effect essentially, where you've got that shield. The shield can be one. It can be a 1 damage shield. As long as
Mhm.
it has a shield, when you're attacking the Scarab King cannot or does not counterattack. And then you
Mhm.
just manipulate turn meter, right? So you bring in Allure, Cold Heart,
Mhm.
whoever you got.
Yep.
Perfect.
So that's
So
basically like rule number one of the teams. But then once you start moving into the mid game, you get Mithrala Lifebane, who's recently been known to solo it with an A1 and shields. We have got champions such as Cornelia can do it, or Urost, or Vergis, you name it. There is a bunch of champions at the right stats and sustainability that can solo the boss. So it's basically solo strategy or turn meter reduction. Is like the strategies for it.
and the whole basis here is Mithrala can go enough that her shield will be up every time she attacks
Hmm.
with the right speeds, and therefore you won't get the counterattack. And she's just going to place Hex and Poison and Hex until he dies. Euros, same thing, except for Euros is placing the poison on being hit, and then he's
Hmm.
doing a shield with the A1. So every time he renews his shield. And the funny thing is, the shield actually gets placed before the damage is calculated. So
Yep.
that's why I know some people were curious about that or didn't understand it. But the shield gets placed. So even though if he has no shield when he attacks, he places the shield on himself and therefore will
Yeah,
be
prime example would be
perfectly
the Blood
fine.
Shield accessories.
And
So if
yeah,
you're using a A1 of Mithrala and her shield gets stolen, for instance, you could still use a A1 skill to place a shield in that damage phase before the boss retaliates with counterattack. So bringing that in is going to be vital as well.
yeah. And I guess we can probably talk about that as kind of the second strategy in a way
Hmm.
is using Blood Shield, right? Because
Yeah.
if all your champions have Blood Shield on them, they will always attack with a shield
Hmm.
because they generate the shield.
Then you don't need any
Awesome.
shield champions. You just use that. But it's just hard to get them all right to have it on every single champion you want to use. So.
Yeah, you have to definitely have a active CVC group and then some luck, right, to get those
Yeah.
the proper. I had a team and I was waiting forever for I had 2 Cold Hearts and I only had 1 Blood Shield and I must have waited months for it just to,
Hmm.
and then I never did the video. So go figure. I waited too long. All right, so that is Bargoth, the Scarab King.
Hmm.
Once you get him, oh, I would say that once you get Eurost, which you get free from fragments, is he the first one you get?
Thea is the first one, I believe. So he's the
Yeah,
second one. Yeah.
a second one, right? So you get him relatively quickly once you can do hard Doom Tower, which is probably when you'll absolutely need him, is when you start doing
Mhm.
hard Doom Tower. But Mithrala, like you said, very very accessible once you can do even easy level. You get weekly fragments from that, so
Yeah.
very
Even
strong.
Taragi the Frog. Taragi the Frog is an epic who can
Oh,
do it as
Taragi,
well. Because he does
absolutely
the same as Uros. He reflects with the poisons from being hit. He places the shield and he does self healing. So he's a
very
very
nice.
good option.
One of my favorite champions,
Yeah,
by
he's
the way.
great.
All right, Iragoth, the Eternal Dragon. Now I'll say this one's probably the most difficult mechanic. Maybe
Mhm.
Bommel, you could argue, but this one there's a whole bunch going on this one. He's the first that you will fight that has ads that you have to actually actively deal with. Like this the with the Nether Spider, you're ignoring most cases, you're ignoring the spiderlings. In the case of the Frost Spider, you just have to place HP burn. They're not doing anything to you. But these guys actually do something back. So talk about the Eternal Dragon.
The Eternal Dragon, I always say, like, it's a very unpopular thing that I say, but it's like everyone thinks that Bommel is the hardest boss in the game, right? I think that Eternal Dragon is the on par or harder to get a grasp around personally, because like the mechanics of it is like, have you ever gone in there as like a free to play account and tried it out from
Oh,
like
it's
not an in game person? It's I remember there was a time when it first came out, right? I was there on a Discord stream with my clan. I would say for at least 7 to 10 hours just to understand how to beat this. Like, if you don't have big shields such as Underpriest Bogni or Snick Track, you don't have a Warlord to lock out the skills or any other skill manipulators, or if you just don't understand how the priests work, where one kind of resets and then one heals the boss, it's like understanding all of it and then getting locked out yourself. And then you get block active skills. You need a cleanser. You need healers, decrease attack. I feel like there's a lot you need to bring into this on top of sustainability.
yeah.
So I think he's him and Bommel hardest bosses in the game for me.
Well, and I
But
think there's no solo ability with the Eternal Dragon.
that's I was just about to say that as well. It's like
Eh,
every other
You
boss
know,
in this game has a cheesy strategy apart from
yeah,
this, in a sense.
yeah. I
Yeah.
remember. So I now we still only have three AOE counterattack champions in the game. I have all three of them. So I used Martyr, a high resist Martyr, so that she'd never be locked out, and then just a ton of A1. So that's how I originally did. I used Martyr. I
Mhm.
used Vrask for A1 heals. I used Manaya because she plays a continuous heal off her A1. So you
Mhm.
just that's how I did it, was a bunch of A1s and then some strong hits. Now with the Cupidus change, I use Cupidus because every time they get hit, he kicks back and he does so much damage, and he's in blood shield, so he heals himself up and he kills the ads. But yeah, this was a messy one in the beginning. I will absolutely
Yeah.
agree. So I don't know if there's any particular strat. Is there a particular way you think you can best approach this? Do you go with high resistance, or you just make sure you have all the components, a cleanser, a healer?
Honestly, it's basically if for free to play players, you're thinking about Drexar Blood Twin again. Like it's just been that theme of today's video. Like Drexar Blood
Yeah.
Twin will burn everybody, but what I tend to do is not to overcomplicate viewers. Is pretend that the minions are not there. Like pretend they're not there. Let them do their skills, because basically you don't mind him basically eating up the priest, the one on the right. It's kind of like you don't want him to heal from the other two on the left. So what I tend to do is just focus on the boss, use burners, decrease attack, big shields from under priest or snick track or whoever that may be, and basically just go through it like that. Like even R-Tac once again, burn detonators are huge. But one of the MVPs as well would be Jarek, probably the best epic support in this game for that boss. Reason being is you can build him for decreased attack A1s, but also upon being hit, he's going to be placing those continuous heals. So you're going to be able to heal on top of that. He's got a nice aura of HP percent, and I feel like he's one of the best ones for most players. Away from that, you're thinking about strengthens again and just sustainability, right? But if you're more end
Absolutely.
game, bring in a Warlord or Yameko, and the boss will never take a turn, pretty much. Just do
Would
A1s.
would you believe I have him somewhere? This
Who
is
is
always
that?
fun. Jureg.
Oh,
Jureg was my
Jarek.
first. He was my first champion for the clan boss. Actually,
Oh,
that's not
really?
true.
Okay.
Tyrell was my first. I believe Tyrell was my first
Hey,
epic.
yeah,
My
that was my
boy.
That was my boy as well back in the day. When I pulled him, I was screaming like I pulled a Hegemon
Yeah.
or something. I don't know.
And then I actually eventually replaced him with Jireg because I needed like use Tyrell everywhere, right? So I needed him in faster speeds and different speeds. So I eventually went to a Jireg who I don't know. I'm gonna give up trying, but yeah, Jireg has the ally protect, which is really nice. Plus
Mhm.
his A1 attack, so very strong champion altogether. I wouldn't actually have him out here, would I?
Or another strategy would just be the Geomancer
No.
once again as well. Geomancer just pounds through it, bring in a Doom Priest to pair with him so you don't get block active skills, or maybe bring in a crowd control so the ads don't debuff you. All really viable strategies. So I'd say once again, it's one of those. It's a fun one. Like I don't mind something being hard if it's beatable with different teams. But when it starts to become like have this or bust like finite hard, then it gets
Yeah,
hard, right?
that's obscenely still overtuned, but one day maybe they'll
Yeah.
fix it. So that's Aragoth. Again, my suggestion is if you're struggling with Aragoth, reach out to content creators. They're streaming all the time. They're on YouTube. They won't do it for you, but they'll give you some ideas. You can show them your account, and they'll give you some ideas. So that's always a good way to go. Or use the
Mhm.
Hell Hades artifact team optimizer, and it'll basically choose teams and show teams that have had success with champions that you have on your account. So that's a great ability to use for every boss everywhere, but especially Doom Tower. So
Mhm.
Griffin. Now Griffin is once you have the damage, Griffin's pretty easy.
Mhm.
But if you don't have the damage, Griffin can be an absolute tragedy for your team. Let's talk about Griffin.
Griffin is like there's a the only way I can explain it is when you go up against the boss, don't feel like very intimidated because it's not like set out to get you in a sense. It's one of the easier ones to understand. So on the first turn, I believe that he's gonna remove all of the buffs from your allies, and in that phase, he's gonna increase damage by 10% per buff removed. So what you want to do is in phase one, don't place any buffs on your champions. You just want to go in with A1s, debuffs, whatever active skills you want to use. Just don't put buffs on your champions. On the second phase, he's then going to transfer the debuffs you've placed onto your allies. So you want to bring in a block debuffs champion. So from there, you're going to block those debuffs. You're not going to have a problem. And then you'll have a couple turns of just A1 skills that place a fear. So in that phase, you're basically doing debuffs, doing buffs, whatever you want, and then in those 2 turns, you want your buffs to start getting removed again for when he's about to remove them himself. So if you get yourself in that rhythm of understanding that, it starts to become one of the easier ones. But as you said, you want to have enough damage before the Skybonds ramp up because once you get past Skybond 13, he's going to hit you like an absolute truck. So
That's
bringing in Burn,
100%. Is that ignore damage? He ignores defense
he
at
basically
that
does
point.
he does a second hit that will place a heal reduction if you get below 50%, and he increases his speed, his crit rate, his crit damage. Basically, all of the nasty stats get increased per Skybond.
Yeah, here it is. Here,
So
each
yeah,
Skybond attack by 5%, crit rate by 3, crit damage by 5, and speed by 2.5.
yeah,
Ignores shield block damage unkillable when Grithian has 10 or more Skybonds. So
yeah. So, but one good strategy for me would be once again unremovable shields like under priest and stuff makes it very easy, because you can't remove it. You don't have to worry about that, right? So, but yeah, and also you want to avoid Termite manipulation because the amount of Termite you fill or decrease, the boss is going to manipulate you as well and put you under stun debuffs and stuff. So, I guess just the easy way is bring in block debuffs, bring in damage, and don't place buffs when he's about to remove yours. Basically,
there are some good champion. Now, keep in mind if you have Syl the Drake, she does do and you have like sniper on.
hmm
Is it sniper? No, is it sniper that removes turn meter on A1?
I know which one you
What's
mean.
the
It's just skip ahead.
yeah
Evil Eye, something one of those.
yeah Evil Eye, right?
Yeah,
So, but don't be afraid to use that if you need to. I mean, one stun at the very beginning isn't the worst thing in the
yeah,
world. So, I mean, the reality is you don't want to place debuffs anyway or place
yeah,
buffs anyway. So if they get stunned, so just keep that in mind. But also keep in mind that you will get stunned if you have that mastery. I know that's something that a lot of people forget, and then they wonder why they've gotten stunned on their champions. So,
yeah. Well, once
Celestial
again,
Griffin,
guys,
yeah.
Artak. Once again.
Artak. Oh, hey, Artak, and probably Drexthar, I would say,
Yeah,
arguably anyway. Probably not as
100%. Yeah.
strong, but definitely any HP burn, right?
hmm
Um, And then actually, if you have some friends, Karnum would actually be pretty good in here because he can HP burn and detonate. So
Oh yeah, he'd be
some
good.
good damage there. Ninja is who I use. So Ninja's a
Yep.
good
I get
one here.
scared to say that word. It's like a mob will come outside your house like ninja, ninja,
Well,
because no one can get him.
on Saturday,
Yeah.
I put out a video that was my Friday night shard pulls on my former free to play account. I had a free to play account. I spent like $500 on it as a thank
Okay.
you for getting 8K subs. Bunch of shards. We opened them Friday night. That account, which I'm giving away, check out if this is before Wednesday, June 15th, I think it is. If it's prior to that, you still have a chance. Go on that one, type giveaway as a comment, and it does have Ninja. It has all the free champions, and well, this won't be a spoiler because by now most people have already seen it. I pulled the Nutcracker on it.
Oh really? Oh
Yeah.
damn.
So that's a account level 80, has alternate, has everything. That's first Void Legendary pulled, and we pulled the boss himself. So Geo,
That's crazy.
what's his name? God, I forgot his name.
George's Nutcracker.
George, but the Nutcracker. So yeah. So if you're watching this will probably be Monday. If you're watching this Monday, June 11th or something. Make sure you check out the previous video. I'll leave a link at the end of this video, and get your chance to win that if you're looking for an easy leg up with Ninja. Okay, so back on to now we're talking about the two. These two kind of came out. Now the Eternal Dragon, very, very difficult, but these two brought a mechanic that we had never seen before in the previous rotations with Bommel and Astronyx. Let's talk about the Dreadhorn first off. Because the Dreadhorn is so difficult until he isn't, and then he's ridiculously easy depending on your comp. So let's fire away.
Well, Bommel's one that I've had a lot of time with. I've probably come up with like so many strategies for this boss by now for the community. There's obviously the Nishak one-shot strategy is one that I came up with in December or something, where basically if you go onto the boss now, every single player is going to be using that, or even you. There we go.
Although mine's not. Mine sometimes is a one shot, but it's still. Oh, I don't have any silver keys, so we can't even show it. Sorry.
Have you got Weekend in your team? Oh, you got
no. Yeah, I have
Venus.
defense down Weekend. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you haven't got two ally attacks. That's why.
It's just stat wise.
No, if you had two ally attacks in it, would be a one shot. Because you've only got one.
I just find it's easier on the waves with it. That's fine.
Yeah, the waves are pretty hard. But basically, the one shot strategy is probably the most efficient way to do it. And then there's obviously, it's one of the most soloable bosses I would say out there. There is a bunch, like Lady Annabelle, probably the best one in the game.
My favorite.
There's
Lady
so many.
Annabelle. There's is it Captain Tamela? Or one of the
Crimson Helm.
Crimson Helm. Crimson Helm can do it. If you're newer and you're doing normal level or some of the early hards, what's the Shadowkin? The blue-haired guy.
Burungiri.
He can't do. I haven't seen him consistently do the top level hard, but
he can do until floor 50, I believe, on hard. But then once there's also Samar Gemcurst. There's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Even Cornelia, but then Raid wanted to nerf Frenzy Gear, so wasted my time.
Yeah.
Building that strategy, and then
I'm hoping that they don't. I'm hoping that they turn back that. I'm hoping that
I hope so. I really hope so.
Nobody wanted it. Nobody asked for it. It was the one gear set that was actually situationally usable.
Yeah.
There's Lady Annabelle there. I really like Lady Annabelle. I've done a video on her for every other area. A lot of people goes, why didn't you show the Bommel strat? I'm like, well, because YST already showed the Bommel strat, but she is a top tier champion in this game for epics and very strong. I think she was even free for a little while. I think some people got her free on a brief code, but also I think she was a fusion step up, wasn't she? I think she was an epic in one of the fusions, but anyway, now she looks kind of funky too. She looks like a Victorian badass. And, don't let her do some back massages. That might not be your best effort. So Bommel, Go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say the fundamentals of the boss is basically the dread bombs are not classed as the boss. They are classed as minions, very similar to the priests in the Eternal Dragon. So champions such as Vogoth that heal according to the amount of damage taken, where it says a specific, I think 25% against bosses or 50% against enemies or something. So because the dread bombs deal 40% max HP, you're actually going to get the full heal value because it's not the boss. Bomber is the boss. So if you've got two Vogoths in your team, this is where champions such as Lady Annabelle can actually work because you're healing to according to the dread bomb hits, not the boss hit. So bringing in those strategies with stuff like Geomancer to reflect burns, or bomb champions such as Nishak Vermin Lord or Astrolith, Geistic Lethal, Soul Drinkers. This is the strategies you want to bring in to kind of take away the heat of the dread bombs. Also, the freeze will mitigate the damage of the dread bombs by 20%. So if you want to take less damage, you could just bring in freeze as well. AoEs. Like Yakal. Yakal's a great example.
Especially now, it looked like Yakar was supposed to be for Fire Knight, but the reality is he's really good for Bommel now because he's a lot more consistent on those freezes. So yeah, absolutely. Bring in those freezes for the side bombs so you can reduce some of that damage if you don't have the stats to take full hit with the Vogoth.
And decrease accuracy as well. I'd say, let's just say hypothetical scenario, you've got a Duchess, you're one of those lucky people, or Rector Druff. You want to have your healer that has high resistance paired with decreased accuracy from someone like Tutor Rhymeheit, because the stats are crazy on the boss. Therefore, you're going to have less bombs on your champions. You've got someone that can always revive, and they're never going to be under any kind of debuffs. So that's kind of a way to bypass the mechanics of the boss with the high accuracy.
So here it is here, and this is what I said, like most of these have this. For some reason, the one we looked at didn't have this breakdown. So rotation 3 hard, 250 plus on speed. Dread bombs are 75 speed, so you'll be able to take a number of turns. Accuracy is 355 plus. Resistance 897. That is 900 resistance on its own. So that's why you want to bring that either increased resistance, there's a few of those now in the game, or the decreased accuracy. Either will work for you. And that you'll be able to actually just resist the bombs and the HP burn. That. Oh no, is the HP burn guaranteed from the boss? It might be guaranteed,
no. So I think the bombs cannot be resisted. Or
the bombs can't be, but
they're protected. They're protected.
Right.
So you can't cleanse them off, but you can resist them.
But you can resist them, right?
Yeah.
So that's good here. Yeah, Bommel, he's very difficult, but once you and hey, look at YST's website. If there's ever, I think that this boss has more videos from you than any other boss, and probably other than maybe Clan Boss and any other content creator. So if you have any strat at all you need, you have one of the champions, check out YST's website. I'll definitely link every video I can find to do with Bommel in the description down below. So if you're struggling with Bommel, this is your guy, and there's the videos for it. Now we're on to the final one. The last Astronyx, probably my favorite encounter, arguably the most important one to be able to succeed at because of the materials you get, which is basically Savage on crack gear. One of the best sets, bar none, in the game. Let's talk about the Dark Fae.
Dark Fae is basically a legendary Fire Knight. That's the easiest way to put it. So what Astronyx is going to do is when you come up against the initial phase, you're like, oh my god, what's going on? There's like a mirror copy of my champions. It's looking terrible. So basically the boss is going to spawn a mirror copy of the champions you bring in, the stats, the speed, whatever that is. But it's not set up for failure in the way of you still get to go first. So what you want to do is take immediate turn meter control. Prime example would be Alessandra. And then you lead into some form of crowd control or Nuka, and you kill the mirror copies as quickly as possible. Because if you bring in tanky champions, you're going to have an issue. Like the same way you're struggling to kill a Duchess, you're going to have to kill your own Duchess, right? So you want to bring in champions you can easily nuke with someone like a Herndig or a Seize is one I like to use. And by doing that, you can just go through with turn meter reduction like the Fire Knight, and then boom, she's never going to take a turn. But if you do have semi-control and you're struggling to, like, let's just say the boss steals one of your champions from the second phase, you can actually determine this by who has the highest attack in your composition. So let's just say you've got your Nuka or your Allure in highest attack. The first banished champion and all banished champions will be based on your highest attack. It's not randomized, so you can actually determine your slowest target, so you can actually go through and kill them. Another option would be if you've got a Veil champion in your highest attack, it's going to go for your lead position instead as the next in line. So there's actually ways to determine who she's going to banish in that second phase. But the easiest way is kill the mirror copy, gain turn meter control, and that's it, pretty much.
Yep. So Allure is a huge top tier, but anyone who has A1 turn meter control or full depletion, because you remember all turn meter effects are halved, I believe, on this boss. So
50%.
You have to keep that in mind. You see here, I have 3 turn meter control. I do allow her to take turns, and I have actually built in that ability. So my Ethos is always who gets stolen. He's got 7306. He's the highest attack. But my speed tune is that right after he gets taken, my Biggin comes in and just kills him in one shot. Simply.
I must say, I love you're using Biggin here. I'm actually happy to see that. He's really good, man. Yeah.
People don't realize Biggin's got that turn meter decrease with the decreased speed. He's got the stun with the decreased accuracy. And he's even got some incorrect accuracy in dungeons. Doesn't help here, but obviously helps everywhere else. He's an amazing champion. He was my... I had a free-to-play account that I gave away years ago. I think at 2,000 subs. Back when it was only level 60. And my first 2 legendaries within the first month of the game were Martyr and Venus.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, and this is like 3 years ago. So this is that's like high fives. I just won the game. My first 2 legendaries on my main account were Lugan, and I believe it was the old Champfort, the not good Champfort. Now at least he's usable in some areas. I nearly switched accounts. I nearly went to free to play, and literally 2 weeks after I pulled Biggin, and I never looked back, because think 3 years ago he was a top 3 nuker in the game for Arena, and I was struggling in Arena, and it just changed everything from that point on. And then of course I got Ethos, and then not long after it was good. But yeah, Biggin has been in my kind of long time. He's an old fan favorite. I have a nicely
I think he needs
done.
I really love Biggin. I still use him sometimes, but I think he just needs a 2023 treatment with the cooldowns, and I think he'll be used a lot more.
Crept. Yeah, he's definitely been power crept. So for this encounter, I also put him 377 resistance so that he doesn't get feared, because that's the one lose condition, is if he gets feared and then it procs, he doesn't kill Ethos, and my Ethos kills my team.
Oh, so you're opening with the decreased accuracy to resist the fear, basically.
Well, so this already on that second round, 377 will resist in its own, but the decreased accuracy confirms it.
Okay.
So unless you can still get 3%, which is my win-loss ratio is about 97% on this team now. So there you go. Cool. So that's that team. So the biggest thing about Dark Fae, like you said, is you get to go first. So turn meter control is the best way. If you don't have reliable AoE turn meter control, or then I would go manual and turn meter control your fastest champion on the other side. So for example, say I have a Biggin over there who might turn meter control. I have to change it, make sure that champion doesn't go. But alternatively, you can just make your hardest hitting champion your fastest champion, as long as you can one shot, especially in normal. You can just, if Ethos was faster than everyone else, they steal, I get to go first. I use one of those AoEs, I kill them all, you're safe. So there's different ways to do it, but definitely the easiest way here with that AoE.
I used to crowd control as well sometimes, was like a good option. So someone like a Vizix, she's got turn meter reduction, decreased speed, but she also provokes the minions. So you can actually make sure that just in case one of them cut in or something, they're just going to do a quick A1 on you. They can't really do much else, so...
Yeah, and then that's Ninja. I'd lead out with the freeze.
Yeah.
So that way, because sometimes my Warlord has both. He has polymorph, which I have been polymorphed against myself before.
Oh, really?
Even though it's a 2-star one, but yeah, you can polymorph yourself.
Oh, I didn't know that. Damn.
Depending on who it is, you can actually lose because of it. But usually it's Ninja, and so it just means it takes longer, because Ninja's not a must-have in this. He's just a HP burn thing for the boss. So you probably use Artak, by the way. I don't know if we mentioned that yet.
Oh yeah, Artak could be a good option, to be fair.
I think so, yeah, for sure. So the other thing to keep in mind, there's the fear procs, There's the make sure you kill them before they kill you, manipulate turn meter, and when you do all that, this is the champion that drops, like I said, for lethal gear, which is arguably the best not named stone skin gear in the game. Definitely the best nuking gear in the game. So, you know, it's definitely something you want. If you ever watch Shinny or any of these end game arena players, this is the gear they use because it's got that ignores 25% enemy defense plus 10% crit rate, which just makes it so much easier to build. Did we cover everything on Dark Fae? I mean, there's so many little things with her, but an amazing.
Yeah, it's basically the fundamentals. Just kill yourself, 10 meter control, decrease speed. Don't bring in tanky champions, pretty much.
Oh, don't bring in high resist champions, because remember, if they're high resist, like my biggin, if my biggin got stolen, how do I lock it out? How do I control? So if you're wondering, geez, I keep failing, that might be it too. And I actually had to, I believe, speed up my biggin to make sure that didn't happen. And he used to have more attack, and I lowered his attack just in case. So, yeah. So that's the fundamentals of this. Obviously, bring in a team that can clear the waves. The good news about this is probably the easiest wave getting to the boss. Something about Bommel and Faye, they
and all sorts.
They soft tossed us the waves, which is a miracle. And then they brought the hardest bosses, arguably, or two of the hardest bosses. So, all right, so that's it. Awesome. Is there any final Doom Tower tips, tricks, notes that you want to impart upon the viewers?
No, I think I guess like don't feel intimidated to try things. Try and understand the mechanics. There's also a boss guide in game on the right hand side that can basically tell you some of the fundamentals as well. If you're just in game and you're like, oh, why is it doing this? You can quickly look. Or even look at the champions you use, or use the optimizer on hellhades.com and basically see champions that beat it, right?
I will say this Teams of the Week has been invariably broken because it'll just have a Krizia. So if you have a Krizia, you've won. Yeah. Krizia is in every boss guide. Best teams, you can see mine. You can see what happens when you have a Krizia, right? Very good champions.
Herndeg.
Herndeg. I was gonna use my Herndeg, but I feel like until I have him booked, he's not as strong.
I'm surprised you didn't use your Philia, Filja.
You know what? I probably could add her into it instead of
really good
my
for this
ethos,
boss, man.
But
yeah,
but my ethos is so nice on the waves because then it's just one shot. So it makes it a little bit easier, and it's easy to kill him once he gets stolen because my biggin goes next and just destroys him. But you see here this is a common one, right? Where there's like literally 4 turn meter control and 1 enemy max HP, and so 10%. He needs 10 A2s, probably in reflex gear for extra RNG, so you can get it done quicker, and away you go.
Yeah.
I imagine Armiger
is really good for this, yeah.
Armiger. I think he would be a very strong one. Obviously, with his A1, you can just keep doing it. Put him in, and he's got enemy max HP. I wouldn't lock out his A2 because if you get that big hit, that's helpful as well. So yeah, overall, great champions. Well, awesome. I want to thank you very much for coming here. It was.
Anytime.
We made up for lost time.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, like back in the day, right, when I first started, I'm not sure if you remember, it's like I asked you, what did I say? I think I messaged you, do you want to join my Discord or something? Ages ago. The message is still there, I think. And it's like, wait, let me see. I can actually see because it's not like a ton of, what did I say?
It is. He's calling me out. He hates me.
Oh, I didn't. Maybe it's all the way back. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But
I am part of your Discord. I'm right here.
Yeah, no, I was so hyped back then. I was like, oh, look, this guy, he's got like 4,000 subscribers. He joined my Discord, and I was excited, man.
And now you're far surpassed me. Now you're the king, and you're the captain. Now is what it is.
Just to put it into perspective of like how long that I've kind of this has been anticipated for, I guess. Like it's really cool for me on a personal basis. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm
keep crushing it, man. You got this.
I love it. It's fun. So yeah, so join. Hey, if you don't know who YST is, go over to his channel. Subscribe. This is you're basically feeding his child. His 2 children, right? 2 kids?
Yeah, I got two kids, yeah.
You're basically feeding his children by subscribing, liking, maybe joining the group. You can join. I'm a member. Why aren't you a member? It's $5. No, I won't do that. But anyway, make sure you go over there if you like his content. Feel free to subscribe, join. He does CVC streams. He does content daily. Very smart, next level Doom Tower and everywhere else in the game. You'll also see him in the content creator challenges where he has had heartbreak after heartbreak. So he will break through one of these times. I promise you. Deadwood will not beat him. Hell Hades will not beat him one of these times. Some of the greatest teams you had, and it just wasn't meant to be.
I fell just short so many times. It's not like I don't think I've ever come last. I don't think it's always like just missed the mark.
Yeah,
we'll get there.
So awesome. Well, thank you for joining the channel. I appreciate you. Also, we will be doing a collab on his channel. So if you want more shenanigans and tomfoolery, go to his channel, and whenever it gets up there, watch our video. Thank you. And most importantly, everyone, please be kind, be safe. We'll see you in the next video.